Guys, in today's video, I'll be talking about Invest 92L, and as of the 2 p.m. advisory, the percentage chances for its development over the next 2 to 5 days has slightly gone down. It still has a high chance of development, but it used to be at 80 to 90% chance over the next 2 to 5 days. Now it's at 70 to 80% chance over the next 2 to 5 days, and that is because it has started to look a lot less organized. The convection of the thunderstorms and showers for the system has started to become a lot more isolated and scattered and not as potent and as quickly blowing up and as consistently as it was before. But it says the agency says that shower activity associated with a broad area of low pressure located about 1,000 miles east of the Windward Islands, has changed little in organization since this morning. Environmental conditions are expected to become somewhat more favorable for development during the next few days, and a tropical depression or tropical storm is likely to form during that time frame. The system is forecast to move westward to west-northwestward at 15 to 20 miles per hour, and it could bring heavy rain to portions of the Leeward Islands by late Wednesday, regardless of development. Interest in the Lesser Antilles should continue to monitor the progress of the system. So, again, if we go to 5-day graphical outlook, this is the area of where it could potentially develop. And the NRC does think it will head much farther to the north and potentially go just to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. The model guidance has it going to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola and towards the Bahamas, and then even potentially, it seems the most likely scenario as of right now, according to the models, is that it will, from the Bahamas, it will curve up along the East Coast. And that's the big question mark of really whether or not it will do that. And if it does do that, will it more stay out to sea and curve out to sea, or will it get closer to the East Coast and potentially impact the East Coast somewhere? So let's look at the tropical tidbits current information. This is the current satellite loop for Invest 92L. And you can see, again, as I was saying, the thunderstorm activity, the convection is a lot more isolated and scattered. It's not as well defined. It clearly does not have a good consistent spin to it, so it's definitely, as of right now, not trying to become any kind of tropical system or named tropical system. So that's why we got to give it another few days, as the NRC said. Here's the model guidance. And the model guidance shows it, again, agreeing with kind of the area of development that NRC lined out, that it will head towards the west-northwest and go most likely just to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, and then head towards the Bahamas. And then potentially, by that point, if it does do this, some of the models do actually take it towards more of the Straits of Florida into the Gulf, or it curves up the East Coast. This is a big question mark in this area, what it will do here. And of course, it is kind of also a question mark of maybe it'll just change direction of where it currently is right there, and maybe just go south of these areas of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola and go through the Caribbean. If it does do that, it most likely will potentially suffer the same fate as Gonzalo, but that doesn't seem as much as the most likely scenario. It seems that it will most likely go more towards the East Coast and to the north of Puerto The and Hispaniola at the least. The GEFS model track guidance, shows it also agreeing to go to the more northern parts of the Lesser Antilles Islands, go just to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, and then curve up through the Bahamas and just offshore the East Coast and then out to sea. And the current model guidance does have it strengthening into a decently strong tropical storm, maybe weak Category 1 hurricane from what it shows with the pressure, the millibar pressure readings. We'll have to see, of course. We'll see how strong this one gets. It most likely won't be that strong. We'll see if it does get that strong, or maybe even stronger or weaker, who knows at this point. This is the CMC model guidance, and it generally does agree with the GFS. Of course, the CMC model is definitely not as good as a model, especially as of late, honestly. But what I will say about this model with depicting the model track and potential track for the system is that it has a wide area of potentially where it will go. It does line out pretty much what most likely will be every potential potential track, most likely whatever track it does take, either goes more towards the Straits of Florida and then curve up through the Gulf and then kind of dissipate over the East Coast, or go way off the East Coast and out to sea, or kind of very near the East Coast and impact the East Coast somewhere. Who knows? Well, it's could do any of those things. Who knows? This is the model intensity guidance, and all the models do think it will become a tropical storm. I do agree with this. I think as of right now, I can say it's most likely definitely going to be named and will at least be a tropical storm. I have no idea if it will potentially become a hurricane. That's just really, I'm not going to say anything about that. I mean, I really have no idea. It's just way too hard to really tell. The forecast models, I'll show you the forecast models now. This is the GFS model. We'll go to the tropical Atlantic and show you the system, show you what the GFS is showing. GFS is showing the system really not becoming all that strong at all. It does show it going to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, but it does not show it becoming that strong at all. You can see it just really dies out and just does not really become much of anything whatsoever. On the other hand, the CMC model does show it going in the same direction as what the GFS is showing, but it shows it becoming much stronger. We'll go to the Western Atlantic now to show you better, the system, and you can see it really strengthens, goes right near the southeast coast, and then up through the Outer Banks is a very strong, potentially very strong Category 3 hurricane, and then going just offshore of the northeast of New England out to sea. Of course, we'll see if this happens. I mean, this is a possibility. We cannot rule any of these possibilities out. Any of these possibilities could happen. This could happen. Anything is possible with this system. We really just, again, we have no idea what will happen with this system. The European model, I'll show you what the European model is showing. It's showing it really not being much of a system. It's showing it going to the south of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, and then maybe crossing through Cuba or something. I have no idea. I don't think this will really happen. So I don't know really what the Euro is doing, but I think it will become at least a decently strong system, but we'll see. I don't know. The MSLP and Precip, I'll show you the GFS Para model, which is the newest version of the GFS model that will take over the current GFS model and become the GFS model we will rely on at some point in time. I'll show you this model just to give you perspective on what it's showing. And you can see, well, this is the 12Z run. It's just coming in. We'll show you this 6Z run from earlier. And you can see it shows it going in the general same direction as what the GFS and CMC were showing. And it shows it going just offshore of the East Coast and kind of being more of a fish storm, getting close to the East Coast, but really just staying out to sea and then curving out to sea, going just to the offshore of the Northeast and New England. But it does show it becoming a pretty strong system, potentially a pretty strong hurricane. We'll see what happens. I have no idea. So, we'll just have to see. That's really just the general question mark of just really what the system will do. It could do really literally anything, especially if it does overcome the dry air and wind shear that is currently still generally there in that area that Gonzalo was in. And if it does overcome that and goes in the potential direction we think it will go to just to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, it will enter much more favorable conditions to really develop. And then we'll have to see what it'll do from there. If it goes up the East Coast or through the Straits of Florida into the Gulf, who knows? We'll have to see. But if it does do that, we'll really have to continue to monitor this and see what it really actually does do. I'll show you what according to the GFS model, show you what it's showing. What it's showing for the 6Z run from earlier, what the wind or what its forecast winds for it will be. Here we go. Here's the winds. And you can see there's a system starts forming, and you can see it already starts to form pretty nicely. I don't know what it's doing though. It's very odd. I don't know. Hold on. Switch to the 10-meter winds. See if that's any better. No, it's not. It's really not showing anything that impressive at all. I'll show you what the CMC model is showing for the wind, though. If this thing can load, there we go. And you can see the winds for the system. It shows it getting generally light, maybe just towards tropical storm status, and then once it really starts to strengthen off the southeast coast, you can really see the wind really increases with the system and becomes more towards 52 to 58 knots, maybe within there 58 to 64 knots. And greater. So we'll see what it does, honestly. This thing could really tighten up and become a much stronger system, become more well-defined, much more organized, much stronger, or could be a bust like Gonzalo. Anything is on the table with this system. I really just want to reiterate that over and over because it might sound annoying to a lot of you, but seriously, that's a really important thing to really reiterate, so you guys understand how interesting the system will most likely be. So we're looking at again. Now for the last bit of this video, I'll show you the Wikipedia page for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Again, we've already had our first 8 named storms, and we're technically ahead of 2005 with the way we're going with named storms. Of course, the difference between this season and 2005, of course, is that it had much stronger systems, had a much higher ACE at this point. ACE stands for any of you who don't know, ACE stands for accumulated cyclone energy, the amount of energy a tropical system produces, and really generally the higher it is, the more likely it is that we'll be into an above average season. Of course, another thing that could go into that is just how many named storms we get through and how many strong name systems we have. We already have one hurricane, that was Hurricane Hannah, which really that impacted very southern Texas from Brownsville to Corpus Christi. Really between Brownsville and Corpus Christi, that was the most impacted area. It was a huge rainmaker for Texas. And it really actually strengthened a good bit right up until landfall. It became a 90-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane, 973 millibars. And it was another one of those systems, just like Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Michael. Of course, both those systems were much stronger than this system. But I'm comparing it to those two systems because it was just like those two systems because it intensified up until landfall and made landfall at its peak intensity. Just like Harvey and Michael. Harvey happened in 2017. Michael happened in 2018. So again, we've gone through 8 systems already, and they're still figuring out how much total damage Gonzalo and Hannah potentially has caused. Gonzalo, I don't think will most likely have caused much damage, but Hannah could be a pretty damaging system, especially since it was a pretty big flood event. If I were to just just like give out a range, I would say maybe between 400 million to $1 billion in damage. Of course that's a very wide range. I really don't know if that'll be even correct within that range. Most likely will be within that range to some degree, but of course it just really depends on how much damage that flooding caused and just how much Hannah damaged those areas. So again, if Invest 92L, the system that I've just been talking about all throughout this video, is named. It would be named Isaias, the I named storm. That would be our 9th named storm of the season. That would also break the 2005 earliest forming I named storm, which was Tropical Storm Irene in 2005. And Isaias would become the earliest forming I named storm, 9th named storm on record. And honestly, in general, if this kind of pattern does continue and we really continue to see all these tropical systems being monitored and forming, we could continue to see like the earliest forming 10th, 11th, 12th named storm. We could just, who knows? Because here's the thing. The H name storm in 2005, which was Harvey, Tropical Storm Harvey. That was the earliest forming eighth name storm. Happened in very early August, so we beat that by at least a week. At least a week. At least a week. It was more like probably I think a week and a half to 2 weeks, or so. But so this really could continue. We get we could beat and continue to have these record earliest forming name systems. So who knows? I definitely think at this point we will actually enter the Greek alphabet. I'm still forecasting it to get to beta by the end. Get into at least the very beginning of the Greek alphabet. So I think we'll get very close to being kind of how active 2005 was, but we'll come just a bit short. So that's something we're really gonna have to watch. Though since we're already at 8 name systems and 1 hurricane already, and we've already crossed off 8 names off the list, I think by mid-August I'll have to update my official 2020 Atlantic hurricane season forecast and just update my forecast total number of named storms from 20 to 23. We'll most likely we'll have to look out for that in the future in the next few weeks. Just have to see how that goes. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.